the secret doctrine, and the destiny of the order. Arrival at the Gulf of Tarentum, a transformer of lives. At the edge of the Gulf of Tarentum, the city of Croton had surrendered itself to luxury and idle pleasures. But the arrival of a man clad in a white robe, with a purple band upon his brow, and a gaze that seemed to pierce the soul, changed everything forever. Pythagoras did not come merely to teach philosophy. He came to transform life itself. He persuaded women to offer their jewels to the temple of Juno as trophies of vanity conquered. He persuaded young men to abandon vice. His eloquence was a communicative flame. They called him the Hyperborean Apollo. The Pythagorean Institute, first degree of Pythagorean initiation. Thus was born the Pythagorean Institute. Yet admission was not easy. Not every piece of wood is fit to make a mercury, the master would say. Candidates were required to undergo formidable trials. Not of physical strength, but of self-mastery. They were confined in bare cells with only a cup of water, dry bread, and a geometrical riddle. Later, they were subjected to the mockery and sarcasm of others. Only those who endured humiliation with unwavering resolve, declaring that they would repeat the ordeal 100 times for a single fragment of wisdom, were admitted into the novitiate. For years they maintained absolute silence. They had to learn how to listen, for, as Pythagoras taught, only one who has established harmony within himself can reflect divine harmony. Second degree of initiation, revelation of the science of numbers. Once purified, the disciples gained access to the second degree, the revelation of the science of numbers. For Pythagoras, number was not an abstract quantity, but the intrinsic and active virtue of God, the source of universal harmony. The monad, the one, is the spirit that moves by itself. The dyad is the union of the eternal masculine and the eternal feminine, the generative faculty. And from their union arises the triad. The law of the ternary that constitutes body, soul, and spirit, both in man and in the universe. And when 1, 2, 3, and 4 are added together, the result is 10. The sacred tetrad, the perfect number, the source of nature, and the model of the gods. By this symbol the Pythagoreans swore their oaths, for within it lay the key to all religions and all sciences. Third degree of initiation, the evolution of the soul. Yet the science of numbers was only the prelude. The third degree revealed the supreme mystery, the evolution of the soul. Pythagoras taught that the human soul is an immortal monad, a living spark of the divine spirit. To become what it is, it has journeyed through every kingdom of nature, from the mineral to the animal, in a chain of worlds spanning millions of years. Death is not the end. It is an awakening. When the soul is released from the body, if it is pure, it is carried in a great light toward its spiritual family. If it remains bound to matter, it wanders through the abyss of Hecate, struggling to free itself from earthly attraction. And then, driven by an inflexible law, the law of the repercussions of lives, the soul must reincarnate. Each existence becomes the reward or punishment of the one before it. The fool, the genius, the saint, the tyrant, all are travelers arriving on this earth at different stages of an immeasurable cosmic journey. At the summit of this teaching, Pythagoras revealed the mystery of love and marriage. Woman is not an inferior being. She is the embodiment of nature in its creative and formative power. For marriage to be perfect, there must be a true interpenetration of two souls. Man, representing the creative spirit, must fertilize the feminine soul with the divine ideal, and woman, through love, returns it multiplied, transfigured, made flesh and blood. Pythagoras, who had renounced women for the sake of his mission, found in the young Theano, a disciple of incomparable beauty and devotion, his perfect companion. When she confessed her impossible love, he did not reject her. He raised her up and united his destiny with hers. Theano became the center of the order, proving that love, when sanctified through initiation, is the supreme radiant and creative force. The revenge and death of Pythagoras. Yet intense light cast the darkest shadows. The power of Pythagoras, who had governed with justice and wisdom for a quarter of a century, stirred deadly jealousy. A man named Silent, rejected by the master because of his violent character, organized a campaign of revenge. Taking advantage of democratic unrest following a war, Silent mounted the public platform. He read stolen and distorted excerpts from the secret book of Pythagoras. He accused the order of being a conspiracy of hidden tyrants who despise the people. "Do not listen to them," the crowd shouted. "Punish them without hearing them." One evening, while the leading members of the order were gathered in the house of the athlete Milo, an enraged mob surrounded the building. The doors were barricaded, but the crowd set the house ablaze. 38 Pythagoreans, the very flower of the order, perished in the flames or were murdered by the mob. Some accounts say that the master, already in his 90s, escaped with 2 disciples, wandering from city to city until he allowed himself to die of starvation in a temple, faithful to his principles until the end. Others claim that he perished in the fire. The order was scattered. Its surviving members fled to Sicily and Greece, persecuted yet carrying within their souls the imperishable seed of truth. Yet Nemesis eventually reached the executioners. Barely 30 years after the death of Pythagoras, the Asian cyclone he had foretold erupted, the Persian Wars. And it was the spirit of Apollo, rekindled by Pythagoras at Delphi, that inspired the Greeks. It was the Pythia who pointed towards salvation at Salamis. It was religious fervor that achieved the miracle of Marathon. Greece, representing liberty and civilization, triumphed over barbarism. Would these wonders have occurred if Pythagoras had not rekindled the sacred fire in the Delphic sanctuary? The legacy of Pythagoras. The influence of Pythagoras is immense. He did not invent truth, but he was the luminous organizer who united morality, science, and religion into a vast synthesis. Plato drew from him the foundations of his metaphysics. Modern science strengthened the foundations he helped establish. At the heart of this doctrine shines the sun of the one truth. A sun that reminds us that we are, in essence, eternal souls journeying back toward the light. As the inscription at Delphi proclaimed, "Know thyself, and thou shalt know the universe and the gods." Until the next initiation.